The rain on Nerith fell in heavy sheets, thick as liquid crystal, drenching the outpost metal walkways until they gleamed like molten silver. Elias Carter, chief engineer for the colonization project, had been through 3 years of alien storms, but tonight's was worse than usual. Wind howling through the girders, water pooling in dangerous places. He was making his way back from the fusion plant when he saw her, huddled under one of the massive conduit pipes, shivering violently. Was the alien girl they'd rescued 2 days ago from a wrecked freighter in orbit. Her people, the Velari, rarely left their homeworld. The freighter had been a refugee ship. Pirates had hit it, leaving only her alive when the humans arrived. She was small for her kind, maybe 7 feet to a 6, and her shimmering lavender skin looked pale under the storm's gloom. She didn't speak much English yet, but her golden eyes followed every movement with wary intelligence. And now she was soaked to bone. Elias pulled the emergency pack from his shoulder, dug out the standard-issue thermal towel, a thin-looking rectangle that, once activated, produced gentle heat and absorbed water like a sponge. He crouched down in front of her, careful not to startle her. "Here," he said softly, extending the towel. "This should help." Her eyes widened. At first, he thought it was simple surprise. After all, maybe Velari didn't use towels. But then something changed in her face, a flicker of emotion he couldn't read. She reached out slowly, trembling fingers brushing the fabric as though it were a sacred relic, and then she dropped to her knees. "Whoa! Hey! No, you don't have to," Elias began, panicked, but she pressed her forehead to metal floor, clutching the towel to her chest like it was life itself. Elias froze. He'd handed her a towel, and somehow that had meant something far bigger to her than he could begin to understand. They got back to the outpost safely, though the girl, her name was Saelira, he learned later, kept glancing at him with an unreadable expression. It wasn't until Dr. Keene, the xenolinguist, explained things that Elias finally understood. In Velari culture, Keene said, scanning his translation notes, sharing warmth is intimate, sacred, even, especially an object that carries your heat, your touch. You didn't just give her a towel, Carter. You offered her, well, the closest thing they have to a promise of protection, a bond. Elias blinked. From a towel, Keene smirked. "Context matters, my friend. To her, you might as well have offered half your soul." Elias thought back to the way she had clutched it, the way her hands had trembled. Suddenly, the weight of that small gesture settled over him like another storm cloud. The days that followed only made things stranger. Saelira began seeking him out, quietly at first, just lingering in the engineering bay while he worked, watching with those golden eyes, then helping, in small ways, handing him tools, learning words and halting English. And always she kept the towel. It was comical, almost, this towering alien girl carrying around a plain gray strip of fabric, like it was a priceless artifact. But no one laughed. Something in her seriousness kept the jokes at bay. One evening, as Elias locked up the bay, he found her waiting by the door. "Saelira," he said carefully, trying the syllables away Keene had taught him. Her eyes brightened at hearing her name in his voice. "Elias," she said slowly, testing each sound. It was the first time she'd spoken his name. Then she held out the towel. "For you," she said. He frowned. "No, it's yours. I gave it to you." She shook her head. "Warm, shared." Her accent was thick, words halting. But the meaning was clear. Velari didn't keep warmth. They gave it back, completed the bond. When Elias took it, her fingers brushed his. It was like static. A pulse of heat, alive and real, jumped through his skin. He looked up sharply and saw her staring at it with a strange, fragile hope. The base commander wasn't happy about it. "She follows you around like a shadow," Commander Harkness grumbled one morning. "Carter, you're not here to start whatever this is." "She lost her entire crew," Elias shot back. "Maybe her whole family. If she wants a friend, I'm not going to turn her away." Harkness gave him a long, disbelieving look, but said nothing more. Still, Elias couldn't deny there was more than friendship growing between them. Something in the way she watched him, the way her posture eased when he entered a room, and the way his chest tightened whenever she smiled, just a small curve of her lips, rare but breathtaking. 2 weeks after the storm, Saelira spoke her longest sentence yet. "You give warm. Keep safe." "Why?" Elias set down his wrench, met her gaze. "Because you needed help." "Many need help," she said softly. "You give me." He hesitated. The real answer was complicated. Because she looked so lost that night. Because something in her silence reminded him of his own after the war back on Earth. Because when she looked at him, he felt seen. But all he said was, "Because I wanted to." She studied him for a long time. Then she said, "I keep bond." He didn't know what that meant until she stepped closer and pressed her forehead lightly to his chest. Velari didn't hug. He remembered someone saying, this was their gesture of closeness, of trust. His arms came up slowly, uncertainly, and then, when she didn't pull away, he held her. That night, he couldn't sleep. It had been so simple. A towel, a bit of warmth in a storm. Yet, somehow it had changed everything. He remembered the hollow look in her eyes when they'd first pulled her from the wreckage, the way she'd flinched from every sound. And now Now she was laughing softly at one of Keen's clumsy jokes in the mess hall, or following Elias to the engineering bay asking the names of tools, or sitting beside him on the observation deck watching the twin moons rise. The bond she spoke of, it wasn't just words. It was her learning to live again. When the next supply ship came, there was talk of taking her to the Valari embassy on another world. A safer place with her own people. Elias told himself that was best for her. So why did his chest ache at the thought? On her last night at the outpost, rain fell again. Soft this time, a drizzle like whispers against the metal roof. She found him in the bay, as always. You go tomorrow, he said quietly. She nodded, then held out the towel. For you, she said again. He shook his head. No, it's yours. Shared, she insisted. Her English was better now, voice steadier. Bond, not break. Even far. He took it, slowly, and when her fingers brushes again, the same pulse of heat leapt through him, like the first night, but stronger now, heavier with everything unsaid. Saelira, he began, not sure what he meant to say. She leaned forward, pressed her forehead to his once more. Warm kept, she whispered. Then she was gone, leaving him with the towel and the storm and a hollow ache in his chest. Months later, when he finally visited the Valari capital, he didn't know if she would even want to see him. But the moment he stepped off the shuttle, there she was, taller than everyone around her, golden eyes shining. And in her hands, she carried the towel, as if it had never left her side, as if the bond had never broken. And when she pressed it into his hands once more, smiling that rare, breathtaking smile, Elias finally understood. It had never been about the towel. It had been about the warmth they shared, and the promise it carried, across storms, across worlds, across everything.